Thank you for joining us. I am Milo. This is an episode of a non-commercial series called Reality Check: Weird Tales. This episode will contain 4 stories which have been narrated. You, dear viewer, are tasked with trying to guess which stories are based on real-life events and which have been made up by our writer. The truth will be revealed at the end of the episode. Now, let's get to it. Blankets are more often used for keeping warmth trapped within to preserve body heat, but they can also be used to cover or obscure things. But more than that, for a kid, the blanket can be a private sanctuary, a safe haven. It's a protective barrier that the monsters of the night, whether they come from under the bed, within the closet, or elsewhere, cannot breach. But just how much security does a blanket actually provide? In this tale, Jerry Rhodes is going to put that to the ultimate test.
Back when I was a kid, there was one person who made me feel safer than any other in the whole world. My babysitter, Miss Annie. My father was always traveling for his job, and my mother had died in a car accident years prior, so Miss Annie and I spent a lot of my developmental years together. But, well, there was one other thing that I spent those years with, and which made me feel even more secure than Miss Annie. My blanket. My mother had made it for me before her passing. I'll never forget that blanket, or one very specific night in September.
It's time for bed, Jerry.
Aw, come on. Just a little more TV. Please.
All right, one more episode. Don't tell your pa. This will be our secret, okay?
You're the best. She really was. At the time, I didn't truly appreciate what I had. I mean, how could I? I was only a kid. But still, it must have been harder for her to study for her exam with the television blaring. Normally that sort of thing would be more important to a college student than a 10-year-old being allowed to break the rules and stay up late watching TV. I must have fallen asleep midway through my show because the next thing I could remember, then and now, was waking up in my bed upstairs. The catalyst for this was a loud crash, followed by Miss Annie's terrified shrieks.
Ah! No! Leave me alone!
I wish I could say that I was brave and went downstairs to confront the threat to Miss Annie in my home, but, again, I was only 10. And so I did what I always did when I was in bed and afraid of monsters. I covered myself from head to toe in the blanket my mother had made me.
I'll check upstairs.
From underneath the blanket, I could see the silhouette of a man hovering over me. I was shaking so furiously after what felt like forever of us seemingly waiting for the other to make their move. He reached down to yank the blanket off me.
Ow!
The intruder reached down 2 more times to try and remove my blanket and I from my bed, but always relented and cried out in pain. Someone else from downstairs must have spoken to the man in my room, but I couldn't hear the voice over the frantic pounding of my own heart.
It's nothing. There's just some kid up here hiding under a blanket. One's enough. Let's just leave before the cops show.
The intruders left, and did so with Miss Annie. The police soon showed, but were unable to figure out anything helpful. To this day, Miss Annie remains missing.
Fewer things in this world are more traumatic than a home invasion, for that sense of sanctuary and security can never truly be regained. But to have to bear witness to the abduction of the one who is tasked with protecting you, that just might top it. Was the blanket filled with a lot of static, and it just so happened to be the home invader who got the brunt of it? Was there some kind of motherly love imbued in the blanket which kept Jerry safe? And what about the intruders? Nothing was taken, save for Miss Annie. Were they there to abduct the babysitter and her young charge? Or was there something else at play here? Or maybe, just maybe, this story isn't as grounded in reality as we'd like for you to believe. A long stretch of road away from civilization can be filled with any number of perilous uncertainties. And yet, nothing is more questionable and potentially hazardous to a driver on a deserted road than a hitchhiker. But even so, a decision must be made as with everything else encountered along the road. Let them in, or keep on going. As Doug Blythe will discover, it is not a choice to be made lightly.
I was running late, getting to my destination, and the sun was beginning to set. Even so, I had learned over the years that it was better to take things slow, especially around wooded areas. You never know what might pop out in front of you. This particular day, it happened to be a man with a backpack. I slammed my brakes, and my car came to a stop short of hitting him. It was as if my car was also stunned by his audacity. I rolled down my window to ask the guy what his deal was, and maybe even yell at him a bit, but before I could, he stuck out his thumb. He wanted to hitchhike. As late as it was getting, he must have been trying all day and not having any luck. Now, he was desperate. The man wasn't particularly old or young looking, probably somewhere right in the middle, 30s. He looked rather plain, save for the look on his face. It was one of panic. No, not panic. Desperation. While I couldn't relate to his situation, I could his desperation. This, coupled with my strongly held belief that building up a little good karma couldn't hurt, I decided to help the fella out. "Get in, back right seat." He gave a nod and hopped in. I gave him a minute to buckle up and get settled before I attempted to converse with him. "What's your name?" I made eye contact with him through my rear view mirror as I asked the question, as that is the polite thing to do while addressing someone. He met my gaze with an intense stare through my rear view.
"It's Tom."
"Nice to meet you, Tom. I'm Doug." Tom offered no further words, and we both stood in an awkward silence for a moment. "Well, Tom, you heading anywhere specific?"
"Not really. I'm just looking to get closer to Albany."
"I see. That's opposite of where I'm heading, but I'll swing by town for you first." Tom nodded. That was it. No thank you, or any measure of gratitude. That's what doing the right thing gets you sometimes. Still, it couldn't be helped. Once I take on a responsibility, I stick with it. I drove slowly back towards Albany from the Pine Barrens while keeping a loose eye on my passenger. He fiddled around with his backpack open, but I couldn't see inside it. As I drove, I spotted another man on the side of the road, with his thumb displaying, showing his desire to hitchhike. This guy looked to be in his late teens, yet somehow had a more well put together aura to him than my current guest. The sun was now almost fully set, and it would be dark within 10 minutes. The passenger I already had was enough as is with the bad feeling he was giving me, but perhaps this one could balance things out. If the passenger had tried anything funny, then it'd be nice to have another set of eyes on him. Odds are he wouldn't be liable to do anything, assuming he had something planned, with someone else seated beside him. For the second time that day, I rolled down my window. "Hey bud, we're heading to Albany. Does that work for you?"
"Oh, yes sir."
"Great! Get in the back if you would." The young man situated himself and I resumed driving. "What's your name?"
"It's Hank."
"Well, hi, Hank. I'm Doug. The guy beside you is Tom. He doesn't talk much." All the way to Albany, I made further small talk with Hank, while Tom continued to be silent.
"Hey, I'm sorry, but, could you please pull over for a minute? I have to take a leak."
I wanted to protest and ask him to hold it. It was dark out and I was way behind schedule at this point. However, there was a nervous edge in his voice that compelled me to comply. The kid had seemed so cheery a few minutes ago. It was a weird shift. I relent and pull over so that he can do his business. Instead of going straight for the trees, he walks up next to my door. I open it so I can hear him.
"Hey, Doug, it looks like one of your tires is flat. I think you should come take a look at it."
He still sounded off, almost like he was acting in an amateur theater production. My common sense told me that it might be best to drive off and leave him there. Tom was already creeping me out enough. It wouldn't do to have Hank getting weird on me too. Nevertheless, I felt compelled to heed him, and ended up leaving my car with the keys in hand.
I couldn't say anything in front of Tom, but when you hit that big bump back there, I was able to look into his backpack, and I saw a pistol. He was trying to load it with bullets!
It was then that everything clicked for me. The fiddling with his backpack was him fishing around for the bullets that he must have dropped. The bumpy road and having to load blind must be throwing Tom off. He knew that if he had the pistol to where he could see to load it, I would also have been able to see it. What dumb luck that Hank had been able to catch a peek. As it so happens, I also had a pistol. I'm a certified concealed to carry, and I was blessed enough to be wearing a coat that perfectly hid it that day. "Listen, I want you to go to the trees like you're taking a leak. I'll take care of..." Tom must have caught on, or his nerves got the better of him. He threw open the car door and booked it into the woods before I could fully finish instructing Hank. We both hurried back into my car, and the rest of our trip to Albany was uneventful. I waved goodbye to Hank, grateful for having done a good deed. I was even more grateful about not having to shoot Tom, as I already had a dead body in the trunk that needed burying out in the Pine Barrens. Plus, the Bertani family wouldn't have been pleased with the added heat.
Who was Tom? Was he actually a hitchhiker, intending to rob Doug at gunpoint or worse? Perhaps he somehow knew about the dead body in the trunk of Doug's car and was out for revenge? Maybe the Mafia had sent out another of their men to take care of both Doug and the body in the trunk. There is also a chance that we took you for a ride with this one.
Three of them? Yeah, I can take 3 guys at the same time. I mean...
I like 'em thick. I like 'em chunky. I like 'em big. All round and lumpy.
No! Why am I saying no? We're not here to say no, we're here to say yes! No!
Very good. Very good. Keep thrusting.
Okay. No! Why you? Why here? Let me through!
I'm like power stancing it out. Yeah, that's pretty good. This is how I was standing. I was standing like this behind the camera, like.
Obtaining property and getting married are 2 very important milestones for those who are fortunate enough to achieve both. Unfortunately, both of those things aren't forever lasting, and sometimes are quite short-lived. These are facts that Chet Goodman discovered.
Life had been rough for my pal Chet. He'd been living with his parents for all his life, carefully saving and planning to give himself as amazing a future as he could manage. This year, when he hit 40, he managed to put nearly all of his money into buying this old apartment building on the busy side of the city. Chet's plan was to quit his job and sit back collecting pay from playing landlord. He called me really frantic earlier, telling me that things hadn't gone as planned. Now I'm sitting here in the readiest, cheapest bar we know, waiting for him to show and to air his problems, while we've both filled ourselves with the cheapest, most watered-down booze that 2 people like us can barely afford.
Hey, Bill.
I look over from my seat and, yeah, whew, he looks rough. Borderline sickly, really. Super pale and his eyes are all red and puffy. He's definitely been crying his heart out. Hi, Chad. Why don't you grab some seat and tell me what's wrong?
It's the building.
Yeah? What about it? Maybe the problem's fixable?
It's not up to fire code or even just building code for that matter. It'll take way more than I've got to fix, and I won't be able to use it in any sort of way before then.
You could live in it, couldn't you?
No, I wouldn't be able to afford the property taxes or utilities on it even if I could. Selling it is also unlikely. It sat on the market forever before I bought it. All those issues are why. If only I'd known.
It's not your fault, Chet. You were simply out of your league on this one. Everyone else who would have looked it over would have been in the landlord game for years and would have been familiar with all the rules and nuances.
I'm such an idiot.
Come on, Chet. There's got to be some sort of way out of this. You might have to sell it at a super low price, but you'd get some of your money back. It wouldn't be what you had before, but it'd be something. I really felt for the guy. He poured his heart and soul into enduring a bad job for years and scraping by on cheap meals just so he could have an early and easy retirement. In a lot of ways, he had avoided living life just so he could in the future, and it all had been for naught. As the two of us drank, I let my head swim in thought. All at once it hit me. There was something that Chet had told me a few months back, really offhandedly. It was a long shot, but it might just be crazy enough to work. Hey, Chet.
What, Bill?
Didn't you say you had that really generous life insurance policy for your company where they would automatically cover your spouse too?
Yeah, and I'm not marrying and killing you, Bill.
What? No. I have a really crazy idea, but hear me out. I have this friend who's an ordained priest, and if I asked him to, he'd marry you to anything.
Okay.
Marry that building.
Bill, you're drunk. Go home.
No, I mean it. Marry the building. Your company will have to give it a life insurance policy, and then you can have it demolished and collect on it. I know a demolition guy too.
That's absolutely nuts, Bill. But you know what? I really want my money back.
It took a week, but I was able to arrange it.
Do you take this apartment building, velvet views, to be your lawfully wedded wife?
I do.
Then, by the power invested in me, you may now. We're going to stop the kissing step. Congrats, you're now married.
Yeah.
Freak. I should go back to practicing dentistry.
A day after Chet had been assured that his wife was covered by the life insurance policy, he began the process to have it torn down. I'm pleased to say that the plan worked. He didn't tell me exactly how much they paid out, but he did tell me it was high enough that he managed to recoup his losses and then some. And needless to say, Chet's work has stopped offering to provide the workers' spouses with life insurance.
Desperation can drive people to do the most unusual of things. But was a man really allowed to marry a building? What priest would allow that? For that matter, would an insurance company, an industry known for being filled with people notoriously bad at keeping their word, actually pay out? Is this true or simply on lease to us via one of our writers' imaginations? It's not unusual for humans to want to be seen, heard, or just recognized in general for their efforts. In the following recounting, I shall be telling the story of one such individual who desired the royal treatment. There was a man who ventured from England to the United States in the 1800s. This man, let's call him Joshua Norton, made his way to San Francisco. Mr. Norton managed to obtain some measure of wealth, which he used to get into both real estate and commodities. Joshua had his successes and failures here and there, and as time passed, he managed to become one of the most affluent and respected men in all of San Francisco. The years rolled by, and a seemingly lucrative opportunity came knocking. A severe famine took place in China, leading to a ban on all rice exports, which in turn meant there was a high demand for rice in San Francisco that wasn't being met. Norton happened to hear of a vessel filled with rice that had just returned from overseas. Thinking quickly, he bought the entire shipment of rice in a bid to control the market. Before Joshua could start to make a profit on the rice, many more shipments of rice arrived from overseas. This led to the value of rice to plummet, and for Norton to be stuck with his devaluing rice, as he had unfortunately signed a legally binding contract. Not wanting to end up destitute, Norton took the contract to court. He claimed to have been tricked, and the courts agreed with him, saying that he wasn't liable. As fate would have it, the Supreme Court of California intervened and overruled the lower courts, ordering Joshua Norton to pay out. This led to the real estate holdings being foreclosed and him filing insolvency. Eventually, Norton had enough and delivered a letter to a local newspaper agency. The letter featured in the newspaper wherein he had proclaimed himself as Norton I, Emperor of the United States. Emperor Norton I issued various decrees, such as one calling for the abolishment of the United States Congress, and another calling for the United States Army to remove the elected officials of the United States Congress. His decrees were ignored. For nearly 21 years, Joshua Norton would reign as the Emperor of the United States. He ended up falling over and dying in the streets, and it was discovered that, contrary to popular belief at the time, he was broke. Even so, thousands attended his funeral, a service truly befitting of an emperor. Is this fact, or did we abdicate to our writers on this one? Let's see which of the stories told in this video were real, and which were tales spun from an author's imagination. First, we had the account of the blanket that kept a child safe from being abducted. Sounds too good to be true, right? That's because it is. Vroom made it up. How about the tale of the man who picked up 2 hitchhikers and was under threat of being shot by one of them, when in actuality, he himself was likely the bigger threat, as he was driving around with the corpse in the trunk of his car? This one was built off the idea Vroom had for a horror story that they never wrote. This never happened. We had a story where a man finds a legal loophole and saves himself from financial ruin by marrying the building he purchased and then tearing it down for life insurance. What's the deal here? Not a chance. This one was also written by Vroom's own hand. Our final story of the episode was the one I told, where a man declared himself Emperor of the United States and had a big turnout for his funeral. It's true. We didn't bother to change his name for the story. Joshua Norton did indeed declare himself as Emperor Norton I of the United States of America in 1859. That's all for this episode. I'm Milo. Thanks for tuning in. We hope that you'll tune in again next time. Take care, good luck, and keep in mind that many falsehoods can easily pass off as the truth.